Hi, this is James Page at the Inca Conference 2023. I'm now really pleased to be having a few moments to chat with Oliver Helm from Fibre. Oliver, thanks for coming and having a little chat with us.
Always good to chat, and lots going on today at the conference.
Plenty going on. You're involved with lots of it. You're chairing lots of panels, so thank you for your help with making everything run smoothly this week. But is there anything that you've picked up from conversations or the panels that you've been chairing so far that particularly stand out?
I think, it's been a really strong conference. It's been very much focused on how the networks grow. So in the past, we've moved from sort of, how do we build them to how do we sell on them? And I think it's now been a case of, well, how do we scale that selling on them? Which is not surprising. It's the natural evolution. But wide range of topics. It's been great to see particularly involvement from government, both from the shadow and the current minister flowing through. Very different messages. Labour clearly very on it and understanding where they want to go and drive this forwards, which is really encouraging to see. Lots of talk about competition being important to the consumer, which is music to my ears. But I think for me the most interesting thing has really been the debate around how do you scale these local ISP brands? How do you push them? How can they deliver exceptional service? And they really do deliver exceptional service. But how does that scale? How do we get that to the point where we're really competing with the nationals? And how do we move that apathy in consumers? At the moment, broadband's kind of okay, particularly with the cost of living and things like it. Change is scary and it's risky. How do we get people to actually scale that movement? And what's the investment case between running your own ISP, a local ISP, versus a wholesale proposition with the national players underneath it? And I'm naturally biased here. I like the wholesale proposition. But there is still a very compelling case that these small ISPs work at a national level and provide exceptional service.
Absolutely. I think we've heard some conversations this morning on the customer panel and also thinking about what we've heard in terms of marketing here, that actually changing the way maybe that we think about promoting the sector and that those individual companies working within it to think much more about the actual end user customer experience instead of maybe talking too much about speed. Is that a problem?
Yeah, one of the things I called out on one of the panels was the market needs innovation right now. The last real innovation we saw in the ISP space at scale was when TalkTalk came into the market a long time ago. And it's kind of not moved since. We've seen small changes. But I can't see a world where the CP space looks the same in 5 years or 7 years to how it does today. And we're seeing, particularly the integrated brands are really innovating. They're innovating on that local connection. They're really focusing on customer service. But we're still talking, and I think the Shadow Minister put this really well, about the size of the pipes, and they're moving more into the community stuff. But we've not quite hit the tone on that message about what does this actually mean for me and my family, and put that in a relatable way. And I think that's because, frankly, people don't care that much. They just want it to work. So I think we need innovation. We need to see what that shift change is going to be that's going to drive this take. Do we just need to build wholesale networks and lift and shift consumers from copper onto fibre, and that's just the status quo? Or actually we're going to see some exciting innovation that fundamentally changes the proposition and the way that people think about connectivity? I would put money on the latter. It's just what the timeline is for it to get there, and we need the former to keep the businesses going in that gap.
But what was encouraging was to hear Sir Chris Bryant this morning gave an unequivocal commitment on behalf of the Labour Party, should they form the next government, of backing for competition. I think the detail is in what kind of competition and whether we are still going to be in a situation where we have a soggy compromise, or whether we are talking about going full-blooded for competition. But at least there was an absolute unequivocal commitment to competition in the market.
Yeah, I think that's really good to see. Public funds are needed sorely in a whole range of places. The one place they don't appear to be needed is putting fibre in the ground, right? We are doing this, and we're doing it at a massive scale. And he was unequivocal about that, but he was also unequivocal about why he thought it was needed, and what the party should be focusing on to leverage that to, bridge the skills gap, bridge the provision of technology in the home, all that stuff underneath it. That vote on competition I think is vital. I think it's also pragmatic. It's been proven to work. How does government continue to leverage that efficiently? So really pleased to see that. More pleased than anything to see the dynamism that he brought to it. He clearly understands the topic, and he clearly wants to continue to do something about it. And I think, I've used the word apathy far too much over the last few days, but if you contrast that to the speech from the current sitting minister, it was a lot more placid and a lot more sort of, this is the status quo. And a little bit more airy, whereas actually you got a sense that Labour have really grasped this, they know how they want to drive it, and that's not a statement I thought I'd ever find myself saying.
Okay, well, you have now, so it's out there. Look, just before we let you go, every year we've been doing these interviews. We always talk about the thorny issue of consolidation and whether it's coming, it's not coming. 2024, is it going to finally be here?
Yeah, so I've been quite vocal about this again. I mean, look, I'm halfway through a consolidation at the moment, so learning firsthand where the challenges of it sit, and I think it's safe to say, where I thought there were challenges, there are, but there are also other bits that are more challenging than I thought, and bits that are going smoothly. I think I've changed my tone on this a little bit. I thought the market was going to consolidate very quickly over 2024. I actually think that there's some challenges around how we value these businesses, what the actual capital in the market to do that is. That's probably going to slow it down a little bit. It still needs to happen. It still makes a lot of sense. But I think we've seen rationality come into the market in terms of less overbuild coming through. We're seeing now more rationality come through into route to market and how we take that. I've got some concerns around ARPU erosion and whether we went hell for leather on building premises past at the lowest cost we possibly could, and that wasn't always a smart investment decision. There's a lot of overbuilt asset out there now which is going to take longer to amortise underneath it, and I worry that as we go through the same in consumers, there's a race to the bottom on price, but we have to be able to match that with that high quality service we were talking about earlier that's needed for the long term, and I think there's a gap as to how long you can sustain a really high service if you're driving ARPU down too low. So I think that will also fall into the consolidation mix. So broadly, I think it's going to happen. It has to happen. But I think actually it's going to slow down from where I thought it would be over the course of 2024.
Okay, fantastic. Really interesting to get your view on that and everything else that's been going on at the conference. Know you're a busy man and have things to chair all day, so we'll let you get back to it. But Oliver, thanks. It's always great to talk to you.
Good to talk to you. Appreciate your time. Thank you.